And good afternoon. Welcome to the booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. I'm here with two special guests today that I'm extremely excited to talk to, Matt Yount and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. First of all, Matt, Andrea, welcome to the booth.
Well, it's good to be here.
And I want to talk a little bit about Affinity Counseling, if I could. It's a counseling service that's available here in the area. I know a lot of individuals have said in the past to me, in my profession as an attorney, there's not a lot of mental health services out there available to people. Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with this process of Affinity Counseling.
Well, Affinity Counseling came about probably 6 years ago so far. And it was... I had been working in counseling agencies for a long period of time, like 20-something years, and I got burned out on the corporate form of counseling. It just seems that when corporations that run counseling services get too large, there's a big focus on productivity, paperwork, all the things that I think I know are important, but not the reason I got into counseling in the first place. So I thought I might as well start my own thing. I'd had a lot of experience doing coaching and business development once I had kind of stepped away from counseling for a bit. So I decided to come back, start my own thing, and my wife, Andrea, here was very supportive of that process. So we started a place in Piggott, and it's been growing ever since.
And Andrea, tell me a little bit about you. Tell me a little bit about Andrea Yount.
I am the co-owner with Matt of Affinity. I'm also a somatic trauma-informed yoga instructor. So I do yoga, but it's specifically mental health focused and helping people to get they do the talk therapy, but it's also, I do a lot of the bodily release of things with the yoga side.
And again, we're here on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. And I'm talking a little bit about Andrea. And, you know, I'm learning a lot of these words as I'm going through. Is that your modality? Is that what I would say in regards to your... And I think it's very interesting because I've not heard a lot of it because... You know, when I was growing up, I was always taught, you know, men are just supposed to rub dirt on it. We're not supposed to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, you're just supposed. So kind of explain to the people a little bit about the modality of the yoga.
Okay, so the type of yoga that I do is like a somatic trauma-informed. So it's specifically focused on mental health and helping get the trauma that's stored in your body out. And so one of the easiest ways I like to explain it is when an animal experiences trauma, they immediately shake for a while to release everything they just experienced out of their body. We don't really do that. We don't talk about it. We don't do any type of form of release physically. A lot of times we usually tend to hold it in, even with our body language. And so what I do is teach people how to open up their body to help release some of that emotion that they unconsciously hold in.
Absolutely. And we're here on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. And Matt, in the event that I wanted to get a hold of Affinity Counseling, you indicated that there are several different locations. Where are you currently open and located at?
Yeah, we've got places in Northeast Arkansas and Southeast Missouri. We opened first in Piggott, then Kennett. We opened about a year and a half ago in Cording, and we're just about to open a small office in Caruthersville.
And in the event that I wanted to get a hold of Affinity Counseling and say, you know what, Matt, Andrea, I would like to sign up for some of your services, how would I do that?
The best way that we prefer people to do that is to go online. We have a sign-up list at counselingwithaffinity.com. So that's WITHAFFINITY, counselingwithaffinity.com.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Affinity Counseling, Matt and Andrea Yount. Matt, what are some of the modalities or some of the counseling techniques that you use the most?
Okay, so in the past, I've used very common forms of therapy like cognitive behavioral therapy. But most recently, I'd say in the last couple of years, I've really switched over to one called EMDR. I don't know if you've ever heard of that
I have
before.
not. What is that?
EMDR therapy, it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Okay, so the best way to describe it. Okay, do you know what REM sleep is?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we go into REM sleep, eyes move really fast while you're asleep. That is a form of processing that our brain uses to move information from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. So that's why you may learn a skill during the day, then go to sleep, and the next day you're better at it than you were when you first learned it. It's because during the rapid eye movement stage, you're processing that information and you're moving it to your long-term memory so it's more accessible and usable. But what happens when people go through a traumatic experience is they have their short-term memory stores the information, but it's usually very fuzzy. It's got a lot of emotion tied to it. Short-term memory is like butts right up against the emotional centers of your brain. So when you go through something, like let's say someone cuts you off in traffic,
right.
Okay? You may go home, you may talk to your partner about it or somebody else, and you still feel the same emotions that you felt the moment that person cut you off, but you go to sleep the next day, you don't feel the same way anymore if you were to tell the story again. So that's a memory that's been sufficiently processed. Trauma, though, when a person goes to sleep and the brain starts to process it, it creates all this anxiety, pain, fear, and the person usually wakes up or gets kicked out of REM sleep. So that process continues to happen over and over, and that traumatic memory seems to stay in the short-term memory area of the brain. So what we do is with EMDR, we try to help simulate what REM sleep would be like while you're awake, using eye movement, and it processes the trauma to the point where it takes it from short-term memory to your long-term memory. And when it goes there, the long-term memory isn't nearly as connected to the emotional centers of your brain as the short-term. So you'll pull up the memory, but it will not have all the physical and emotional responses to it anymore. So essentially, it makes people stop having trauma responses to triggered memories.
Absolutely. And again, we're home. Welcome to the booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Affinity Counseling, the owners, Matt and Andrea Yount, who indicated they have 4 locations. Three locations right now, one in Kennett, one in Corning, one in Piggott, and soon in Caruthersville.
Yes,
is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in their services, you can get on counseling with Affinity,
Correct.
And fill out the paperwork. Matt, in talking about that, I'm going to try to get a free session here because I have a lot of trauma. So, for instance, you talk about the emotional. For instance, if somebody cuts you off in traffic, the thing I think of is the movie Dazed and Confused. They're at the party scene, and the individual is come up with the one guy, and he kind of says something to him, but he walks off. And then he just keeps reprocessing it over and over and over to the point where he just can't stop dealing with it.
Yes.
Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, very much so. So when you get something stuck in your short-term memory, it stays there and you can ruminate on it. And then people have all of these ways that they try to stop that from happening through suppression. So they may work a lot, they may get into overeating or drinking, or they may do whatever it is. Think of your coping mechanisms that are typically unhealthy, but all of that's meant to suppress that rumination. But it's almost like a computer. If you have a lot of programs open on a computer, it tends to slow down. Now, a program can be running on a computer, but think of the monitor of a computer kind of like your awareness in your mind. A program can be running that you don't see on the monitor, but it's still slowing down your computer. So trauma is like that. It's like a very big program that's still open because you haven't come to any form of resolution with it yet. So it's still trying to work itself out, and that's draining the rest of your system. And that's what leads a lot of times to a lot of the body issues that she works on trying to help people resolve. Once we've resolved the psychological aspect of the trauma, my wife works with them on releasing the muscles and tension that's left in the body that's been there for so long because of the trauma.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Affinity Counseling, Matt and Andrea Yount. And that leads me to kind of the point I was going to ask you, Andrea. You talk about you do the yoga therapy. Obviously, and again, I know nothing about yoga other than I cannot do it because I'm horrible.
Everybody can do yoga.
I know you sound that. That's why you're an excellent yoga instructor, because you would say you're the best. But what I was getting to is, obviously it's not a lot of out loud counseling. It's more physical type movements. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's a good point that you make. Is like, when a lot of people think of yoga, they can think of what they see on TV or the workout type yoga. That is not what I'm doing. The main type of yoga that I start out with people is restorative yoga. And so I would put someone in a position that would stretch a certain part of their body and then prop them up with pillows and props so that they can relax into that pose. And they may stay in that pose for 5-10 minutes and then move to the next one. So it's a lot slower. It's a lot more comfy. It might give you a little uncomfortableness because you are stretching a certain part of your body, but it's a lot more relaxing.
And again, talking to Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling here on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDXAM 1590, I think a lot of people, they're afraid that a little bit of pain is not good, but sometimes stretching and having a little bit of pain indicates that there needs to be some kind of release or something, correct?
Exactly, yes. And so I can help you figure out what type of pain is good and, find your limits, as we say in yoga a lot of times, and be able to relax and stretch out some of that stuff that may be causing bigger issues elsewhere.
And Matt, getting back to you and getting back to the business, whoever would like to answer this, in the event that I wanted to get online, counselingwithaffinity.com, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
You guys are not the only two counselors that are available, correct?
No, absolutely
And kind
not.
of explain to the people a little bit, and I think this is very informative because I'm really impressed by this. You don't, how do I say it? One size does not fit all.
No, correct.
And explain to the people what I mean by that in regards to affinity counseling.
Okay, so there could be a lot of different reasons why working with somebody may fit you better than working with another therapist. So, just for example, there's a lot of people that have, trauma related to men. They don't want to have a male therapist, so they need a female therapist. So, we try to make, we have plenty of female therapists available for that reason, but we have other therapists that a personality may work better, knowledge may work better for that person, historical issues or problems that you've had with people that may remind you of something traumatic. You don't want a therapist that maybe reminds you of your mom. So, certain therapists are going to work better with other types of people, and we try and we welcome that, trying to find that right fit. So we want our clients to let us know if this therapist isn't working for you, tell us what you're looking for, and we'll try to find somebody that matches that, even if it's not with us.
And again, we're here on Welcome to the Loop with Darren Todd on KDXAM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. They have 3 locations currently open, one in Corning, one in Piggott, one in Kennett, and soon to be a location in Crothersville. If you want to get a hold of them, you can get a hold of them by Counseling with Affinity. Fill out the paperwork, and then they'll begin the process of getting you lined out. Matt or Andrea, I don't know who would like to answer this question. Obviously, a lot of people say, well, I would love to do counseling or I would love to do therapy. I just don't have any extra money right now. Obviously, that shouldn't be the only reason that you're not getting counseling, correct? And is there some opportunity that they can do something to kind of adjust to that situation?
We do have a sliding scale fee for self-pay rates. If you have insurance, we take all kinds of insurances. But for the most part, if you don't have insurance, we have a sliding scale fee, and that goes off of your household income. So if you don't have insurance, even based on your household income, we could give you a self-pay rate.
And again, we're here on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDXAM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. And you indicated that you have numerous counselors. How many counselors does Affinity Counseling currently work with, Matt?
Let's see. I think if we count me, it's 9, right? Or is it 8? I don't know. We got 8 or 9. We've added some here recently, and I've kind of lost count at this point. I still know them, but I can't really count it out anymore. I don't keep up with it. So we're around 8 or 9 counselors at this point.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDXAM 1590. And I guess my next question is, I fill out the application for counseling. do I scroll through a list of the counselors to try to figure out, or do you guys, and again, is there a process in which you look at what I say is my issues and then you say, you know what, Counselor Z is the person we need to miss you up? How does that work?
Yeah, sure. So first off, when someone goes to our site, immediately there's a button that says become a client. They can click on that. That leads them to a page that shows the different therapists that we have. We also have their bios and the types of therapy that they do, where they practice, out of which office. Sometimes we put their waiting list availability on there, like how much long the wait time you may expect, that type of thing. So that's the start. When someone then signs up with us, one of our team members typically reaches out to them. We check their insurance. We talk to them a little bit about the process. If they start talking about some of the needs that they might have, my wife is really good about helping me or one of my other therapists that assign clients understand, hey, here's some of the needs. I think this therapist would probably be best. And so we try to filter that out as much as we can at the beginning so we get you with the right person.
And again, we're home. Welcome to the booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. We're here with Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. Andrea, and I guess one of the questions I'm going to ask you, let's say that I come in, I initially think that Counselor X is the one I want. I'm just not jiving. It's just not working with me. How do you address that situation?
That's a really good question because people can get uncomfortable with that sometimes. And so all of our therapists are very open to wanting our clients to have the best care for them. So if they are not that therapist for them, then all of our therapists are open to switching and having that conversation and helping you find the person that you think might be best, even if that's outside of our agency. We've done that before.
And a lot of times our own therapists, like even myself as a therapist, I can recognize pretty quick, this, I may not be the best therapist for you, but I do have these people that I think will fit better. And sometimes our therapists come to us and say, I don't think that this person's jiving with you. They just won't say so. So we kind of talk to them and we find out, okay, yeah, you probably do need a different therapist. So we encourage our clients to be honest, but we can usually recognize it pretty quickly and try to get them switched.
There's also the fact that there are only a few therapists that are trained in EMDR. So if some of the therapists who are not trained in EMDR might see that their client needs that, they will allow another therapist, or they not allow, but they will say, hey, you might want to see this client for EMDR.
And again, we're welcome to the booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590 talking to Affinity Counseling. And I've spoken with one of your other counselors, and she indicated that the one thing about Affinity is it's a very collegial group of counselors. And it's almost like, hey, we're wanting what's best for the patient. If we're not getting it done, for lack of a better word, if it's just not, we want somebody else to come in and really be able to help that person.
Oh yeah,
correct?
100%. Yeah, we talk about that, in the beginning when we hire people on. I mean, we're very careful about how we hire people, and we put people through a process to try to make sure they fit the same value system we do. And so if they have our same value system, they're going to know that it isn't about their ego as a therapist. It's all about trying to do what's best for your client.
And again, I think it's important, and you brought up a question that ego as a counselor, I think would be something that is a red flag, correct?
It's best if you don't have a major ego inside of a counseling session, yes.
That could be a very abusive situation.
Yes, it could be.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. If you're interested in enrolling in their services, you can get online with Counseling with Affinity. They have 3 locations, Piggott, Corning, and Kennett, soon to be in Crothersville. They have a sliding fee scale for those without insurance. They also take a majority of insurances. Is it also my understanding you take
Medicaid and Medicare?
Medicaid and Medicare. And then whatever Arkansas, what does Arkansas call that?
Oh, Arkansas, there's the AR Home Plan, which is like their managed care plans for Medicaid, and then there's just straight Medicaid.
And again, my next question is, if I can't figure that out, is there someone who will help me with that process?
Oh, yeah, it's probably Andrea,
yes.
More than likely.
And as I'm looking at Andrea, her eyes are kind of lighting up because she's like, believe me, I know the difficulty and sometimes
I don't know if that's light in my eyes. You see, maybe fire.
So it's my understanding that you can kind of walk us through the process of getting and see where we need to be. Is that correct?
Yes, I can help. Yes.
Excellent. And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Affinity Counseling. Matt, tell me a little bit about the different types of modalities of the different counselors you have. I mean, obviously, you were talking about your current one, which is
EMDR.
And then you have other ones. Kind of explain to the listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have other therapists that'll use other modalities. I mean, there's a ton of different ones that we can get into. We deal some like with anger management. We deal some with family therapy. We focus on children quite a bit. The different modalities that you're going to use are going to vary based on the client. But the primary thing is we want to make sure that the main thing we're focused on is the client feels comfortable. They feel trust in the relationship. They feel heard and understood. Because if they don't have that connection, I don't care what modality you're using. If you don't feel like your therapist actually is like on your side about the same outcome and you're not working toward the same thing and that they're not listening to you, no modality is going to be that effective. So modality can be important, but what's more important than anything is the therapeutic relationship. So, whether we're going to be using CBT, DBT, CFTBC, there's a whole lot of different forms of therapy we can use, but the main thing is comfortability, because that's our primary value of our company.
Safe and heard.
Yes, as a safe, supportive environment where people feel heard and understood.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. And you've indicated that feeling safe and heard are the two major things from your company and your counseling. It's very important because I think those two things resonate, because most, if not all, individuals who are in counseling, I would think, either do not feel safe or have not in their past or do not feel like they're being heard.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
correct?
Oh, absolutely.
And kind of how can you relate to those individuals and make them feel safe, and how can you make them feel heard?
So one of the main things in developing trust I've recognized as a therapist is not only showing a level of competency, but the main thing is being comfortable. I mean, if I'm not comfortable in the session, they're not going to be comfortable in the session. So presenting with a body language that is light, that is understanding, that is non-judgmental, so that when a client finally gets to the point they feel safe enough to reveal something that is hard for them, and they're not seeing any type of what they expect to see, which is negative judgment, something that's going to make them feel shame, when they just feel like listened to and accepted in that moment, that breaks down those barriers very quickly. So a lot of it is just about being a very comfortable person who's like, I've heard 1,000 things. You're not going to say anything that's going to shock me. Go ahead and talk about whatever you want to, however you want to.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Affinity Counseling, Andrea Yount and Matt Yount, the owners. If you're interested for the services, get on counselingwithaffinity.com. They have 3 locations, soon to have the 4th in Crothersville, Missouri. They have Kennett, Missouri, as well as Corning and Piggott, Arkansas. And you talk a little bit, Matt, or Andrea, you talk a little bit about safe and heard. A lot of people, when they're in counseling or need counseling, don't want to go to counseling because they feel like you indicated that they're going to be judged.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because most people, for instance, if I was a child and I went to a father figure or a mother and I told them something, I'm like, oh, you're just making that up, or you're so. Is that something that you see that's very common in a lot of the counseling sessions? And how do you kind of come to grips to explain to them, we're not here to judge you. We're just here to help you and listen to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that we see a lot is when people first come in that they've never had counseling before, or unfortunately may have had like bad therapy before, but they're willing to try it again. They're coming in guarded. And when people come in guarded, the last thing that I want to do is reflect anything in my voice tone, my body language, my eye connection that's going to indicate that there's any level of judgment whatsoever. So I don't want to look uncomfortable myself at all. I'm going to be in a space where I feel very relaxed, because that's going to put out the energy that this is a safe place. And then people are going to start to reveal little bits of things in the beginning, and it's kind of like they're either consciously or unconsciously testing at that moment. Is this really a safe place? And when they don't get the same type of response that they're used to getting in places that they feel unsafe, they start to uncoil a little bit. You can see their body language unwind. You can hear it in their voice tone, their eye connection, and they start to just kind of get into the same like body language and space that you're already in. So I'm really just trying to create a space that invites people to relax.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount, Affinity Counseling. And that kind of leads to my next question. You know, how do you determine what the actual setting in which I do my counseling is going to look like? I mean, and here's the thing, for instance, and you know, and again, I'm going to say this, and I'm not
say it. Whatever you'd like.
So I think of two different counseling sessions. I think of The Sopranos when he's doing his you know, it's you're laying on a couch or in a chair across, and then Good Will Hunting, in which it's just me and the guy talking across, and I'm doing everything I can to totally close you out before you break through. How do you decide what the room's going to look like? Or things like that. Does that make sense? The environment.
Oh, it absolutely makes sense.
It kind of explain that.
So this kind of goes back to the last two questions that you've asked as well. Is like how do you have trust? And as a company overall, I actually have a background I have complex trauma. I have PTSD diagnosis. So I also have an OCD diagnosis. So I have high anxiety and trauma in my past. So I can relate to what a client wants or needs or might feel in therapy. And so I made sure that when we created this, that we took on the values that I felt would lead towards that, like the safe and supportive environment, feeling safe and heard. And so in order to have the safe and supportive environment, we had to create that. And so in our offices, we try to have lower lighting. We try to have comfortable furniture. When I was going, artwork that means something, that, you know, from local artists. We try to have different ways for people to express themselves. In our waiting room at Kennett, we have an album where people can draw. We have some art therapy items in there. So we kind of want to set it up to where people feel almost like they're at home, where they're comfortable and where they have the option to fidget or do things, you know, draw or do art if they need to. So those things are available and they feel comfortable enough to be safe and supported.
And again, we're here on Welcome to the Loop with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Affinity Counseling, Matt and Andrea Yount, talking a little bit about the environment. And that kind of leads me to my next question, which, you know, let's say that I don't particularly like coming to a facility and doing counseling. I want to do it by telephone or telehealth or whatever. We also have that option, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of people are getting warmed up to the idea of telehealth and even starting to prefer it more. So we definitely try to provide that. Almost every one of our therapists try to provide that service. There are some people who do really well with it. Other people do better in person, but the options are there if they need it.
And, you know, just kind of going out on a limb, talking about myself, for instance, it would almost be better for me, I think, to go to the actual place because I have trouble disconnecting. For instance, if I was doing it by telehealth, I would be looking at a million different things and trying to do million different things. But if I'm there, I can kind of focus on what I'm doing. So is it a situation again, and again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. It's almost like you might need to try each to see which actually works best for you.
Oh, yeah, you certainly can. I mean, a lot of times if people start with one of those options, they typically stick with it. Every now and then someone says, hey, maybe this isn't for me. Let me try the other way. Because I do have like some people that have agoraphobia. So getting out of the house is really hard for them in the beginning. So we start with telehealth and then we work toward getting them into the office. So we will customize it as much as we can to fit that person's needs. And I'll even suggest, hey, I think you might do better with this specific issue. You might want to come in office to deal with that, because that's going to be a different experience for you. And I think I can do better work with you there.
And I guess my next question, and it kind of leads to a little different things, is do you guys also do the medication side of it, as far as any kind of prescription drugs and things of that nature?
No, we refer out for that.
Further out. So if I came to you and there was a situation in which I initially started with counseling, and again, we're talking to Matt and Andrea Yount. Welcome to the booth on Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590 Affinity Counseling. If I initially come to you and you realized, hey, there may be some need for some medication or things of that nature, you could also guide us in that direction, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Explain how that process works.
Yeah, so what we do is we have, connections with a lot of the medication providers in the area. And so if somebody shows a need for medication, a symptom that's not like resolving with treatment alone, or it's actually blocking them from getting treatment because it's too severe, we refer them to those places. They go ahead and go get their meds, but they continue counseling with us while they're in that process, because we have to monitor them while they're on the medication. And so they still go back and do their appointments with their doctor or their APRN, but we're there to make sure those things are getting the right effect.
And you could kind of tell that based upon the counseling and their moods and things of that nature as they're doing. And that leads me to my next question. How often do some people go to counseling? I mean, everybody says, well, here's your appointment. You can see you in 30 days. But that's not always the case.
Oh, no. The vast majority of people that I see are once a week. I do have people that come in with some severe issues that come in twice a week. And sometimes in those circumstances, I might be working with somebody once a week, but we're about to do some pretty intensive trauma therapy, so I have them come twice a week. But I have some people that come every other week, some of them once a month. It really just depends on the severity, their capability to come in. But I try to help people understand that depending on what you came in with, there is a frequency that's going to be best based on your symptoms and your diagnosis.
And again, we're home. Welcome to the booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, having a frank and honest discussion about mental health in Southeast Missouri and Northeast Arkansas. We've been joined by Matt Yount and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. And that kind of leads me to my next question. I find this very fascinating. For instance, I always considered it to be, when you go and talk to a counselor, basically unpacking your baggage. That's always the phrase I've kind of used, is unpacking my baggage. Is it a situation in which sometimes people will come in and they'll want to dictate how often they come to counseling?
Sure, yeah.
How do you handle that?
Oh, it's so what I do is when people come in and like they want control. I mean, that's what they're looking for. I don't want control, but I also I help them understand this, is that, hey, look, if you only want to come in a certain amount of time, that is completely up to you. I don't have any control over that, but I'm going to be honest with you. If these are the results that you're wanting to see, but you're only going to come in once a month, those results are likely not going to happen under that time frame. So it's really up to you on what you want to do here.
And it's almost like, for instance, if you're taking blood pressure medicine, I take it and my blood pressure is great. Then I stop taking it and my blood pressure has now went back crazy.
Yeah.
And I'll come back into it. I was like, what happened, doc?
Yeah.
It's because you have to follow the regimen, correct?
Yes, exactly.
And again, we're home. Welcome to the booth with Darren Todd on AM 1590. Talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. 3 locations currently. When will the Caruthersville office be up and running?
I'd say about 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Is fair. Yeah. So we're right now, we just got it, like the floor put down. So we're getting it painted. She's about to design the room on what it's going to look like on the inside. And we're doing all the stuff with insurance. Who knows how long that'll take, but probably, since it's just adding a location, not very long. So I'd guess 4 to 6 weeks.
And if we wanted to know, and again, we're here with Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling, the actual locations in Corning and Piggott and
Sure.
Where are those at?
Okay. So, Kennett is right on the square inside the licensure office.
Yeah.
You just go down the hall instead of going to the licensure office. Caruthersville, I actually haven't been to that location yet, but we're right over the top of Delta Medical, where they just opened up. I'm told it's on the main drag. I just haven't got to go see it yet. In Piggott, we are really close to the post office, not far from the four-way.
Right across the road from Piggott State Bank.
Yeah, right. Thank you. That's probably the best way to say it.
175 North 3rd. Piggott.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm asking you this. Andrea, do I need to? I'm just kidding.
No. It's very good. I know that myself. I don't ever remember addresses. I only remember descriptions. So
We're all from the same. You go past this tree, you take
exactly.
a left.
Exactly.
Yes.
In Corning, it's 402 West Elm Street.
Which is right over the tracks when
It
you
is,
come into
yes.
Corning. Yes.
Elm Street. That's an interesting.
Yeah.
And
Little
again,
Nightmare on Elm Street reference.
and again, we're home. Welcome to the booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. Having an outstanding discussion with Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. If you're interested in their services, you can get online with Counseling with Affinity and fill out an application. Matt or Andrea, let me start with Andrea. Andrea, if you don't care, what kind of got you guided in this path of counseling?
Well, I'm not a counselor.
Of the yoga, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I just wanted to,
Yeah.
know. But, well, actually, in 2014, Matt and I started Affinity Relationship Coaching, which is our parent company. And we did relationship coaching podcast. And
outstanding.
so we started doing that together in our spare time, like, at night when, we were just hanging out together, we would do a podcast. And we did pretty well on that. We had fun doing it. We met some cool people and got to travel and do some stuff there. And that really helped me to understand how my diagnosis could help other people. And so when Matt decided, we were trying to figure out which direction we wanted to go career-wise, we were like, let's open up a therapy office, a group practice, so that we can help more people and use this together. And so I decided to get my yoga certification. I'd already been doing yoga for 10 years at that point. And I got yoga certified and started focusing on mental health with my yoga because that has been a huge help for me.
And again, Matt, what kind of got you involved in the counseling aspect of where you're at today?
Well, I mean, so I was one of those people in high school, pretty much my entire life. If there was someone that had an issue going on or a problem, I just seemed to be the person that they would talk to about it. Whether that was friends of mine, whether it was inside of a grocery store with someone I'd never met before, I just kind of seemed to have this sign on my head that says, talk to me about what's bothering you.
He's
and
not
so
joking.
No. So she doesn't like going to the grocery store with me because she just has learned leave me and she'll go get the groceries and just leave someone talking to me. So I thought I might as well get paid for it because it came naturally anyway. And I really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things is helping people find clarity and get some relief. That's I see that as a gift to give to other people. And it's a blessing, so I want to be able to share those things.
And again, we're home. Welcome to the booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. And that kind of leads me to my next question. And every time you guys talk, it kind of unleashes someone, which is why I think you're an excellent counselor and an excellent situation. Matt or Andrea, when you're doing the counseling, and people are talking about these horrific things that have happened to them in the past, unspeakable things. Mm-hmm. How do you as a counselor separate that out from keeping it all in?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I look at it like, I'll equate it to like someone who's worked in an ER for a long time. Okay, somebody comes in with a gash in their arm or something, or just been in a car accident. Those people that are the workers there are not seeing that and being like repulsed by it. They're looking at it and immediately going, okay, how do we solve this problem? So they're constantly in problem solving mode. So when someone's coming to me, that's what mode I'm in. Is I'm listening to what they're saying, but I'm also watching their body language. I'm listening for their verbal cues that tell me certain things that they may feel really strong emotions about. I'm watching symptomology and presentation, and then I'm making a determination in my head what's the best way to treat this. And so listening to all of that is not anything that is difficult in a way to me that like I take that on. It's just a problem that somebody has that needs to be solved. So I'm just there to help them figure out how to solve it.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. So it goes hand in hand with your company motto of safe and heard and non-judgmental.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, the things that have happened to them that they come to for counseling are horrific things that they don't want anybody to talk to them about. And when they talk to you and you don't look at them with I'm not repulsed or I'm not upset.
Sure.
It's almost like that's how the process is supposed to work, correct?
Yes.
And I'm just amazed. How do you get that to come across?
So, there is certainly, I think it's more so the idea what the other person is feeling when they feel no judgment. The other thing that they're looking for is, okay, I like that I can talk to you, but do you know how to help me solve this problem? Because some people have been to therapists like, man, you're easy to talk to, but you don't necessarily seem to know what to do here. There are a subset of people that come in a lot of times that have a very high sense of self-awareness. They know what's going on with them. They know why it's happening, but they're like, but I don't know how to fix it. And so you have to not only display no judgment and openness, but you got to have the competence and capability and skill set to be able to deal with like what's in front of you. So like I can have certain, like I'm not very good because I'm not very well trained at working with people who have like pure OCD. Most of my work has been in trauma therapy. So if somebody comes in with like pure OCD symptoms, I will tell them if this isn't trauma related, I'm not going to be the best person to help you here. I do understand a little bit, but I need to really get you to somebody who's going to do better for that. And right away, that already builds more trust in the system because I'm setting up the next person who gets them to like, okay, this person was honest with me. And so they said they're going to look for somebody that's going to help me. So I'm already from the moment in the beginning trying to figure out how can I help you, and then I'm going to explain it to you very clearly about how this process is going to work so that when you see the improvements happening, you've already been told ahead of time this is what to expect.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling. Andrea, I want to go back to your specialty, that being the yoga type therapy situation. Is that correct?
Yes.
How often do you have a session, and how could a lot of people say we do yoga every day. Is that something that I would need to do?
Yes, but it wouldn't look like what you would think it would look like. I tell a lot of my clients, like, just laying with your feet up in the air for 5 minutes a day. If that's all you can do, that's something. So like just a few different poses that you can do in your bed before you go to sleep at night, and so it's not as extensive. It's not as hard to put into your schedule as some people might think it might be.
And again, a lot of people, the small steps can be major steps. Is that correct?
Yes, especially when dealing with releasing trauma from the body, because if you try too hard or you push too hard, then not only might you do something physical, but you might, have a lot of emotional response for that or make yourself sick.
And, a lot of people think, well, if I go to the gym, I've got to work out 90 minutes. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. That's not the case, is it?
No.
And, a lot of people are frustrated because they're like, I can only do 10 minutes or I can only do 15 minutes. But you know what? If you even do 10 or 15 minutes, that's better than doing nothing.
Especially if they're personalized for what you are specifically going through, then 10, 15 minutes is plenty, especially, if they're personalized.
Like and you can map that out for them and kind of explain to them. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, having a fascinating discussion with Affinity Counseling, Matt and Andrea Yount, about the counseling options they have. If you're interested in any of them, you can get on the website. The website of Counseling with Affinity. Also, fill out an application, get started. They have a ton of qualified counselors. Matt, you indicated a lot about how you go about your hiring process. Tell me a little bit about the certification requirements and things of that nature you require of your staff.
Yeah, so what we try to look for, I'll hire therapists at any level as long as they show those same values that we demand. being therapists, but also if they're showing a willingness to want to continue to learn and grow by asking questions and things like that, if they come in with a desire for more education, I am totally ready to bring someone in. So we do interviews with people first, Andrea and I do, and then we bring people in front of our board and have an interview there. And then we usually go out and meet their family, and we talk to them in a family setting. If they have a partner or if they have other people that are important to them, we try to have dinner with them. And then so we get to know them on that level as well and watch some of that interaction. But as far as like the qualifications, we really need people with a master's degree in either social work or counseling or psychology. And then if they have one of the higher level certifications because they've been under supervision for a few years, like an LCSW or an LPC, then they're billable to insurance that's not Medicaid at that point.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Matt and Andrea Yount from Affinity Counseling, who's got one of the more important mantras that I've heard in a long time from a counseling. That's safe and heard. And my favorite is non-judgmental. I really, really like that. And you think about it, and a lot of people are like, I just can't go and talk to a counselor because, first of all, I don't feel safe. I don't feel heard, and I think they're going to judge me, which is not going to happen in Affinity Counseling.
No, and see, so shame is one of the biggest blocks
Absolutely.
that happens in any type of healing process. So if anybody has ever been made to feel ashamed of what has happened to them or what they've been through, or sometimes even things that they have done, it's that shame is a block. So shame keeps people from healing because it reinforces the belief systems that someone has about themselves that may be negative. I'm not worthy. I'm not valuable. No one loves me. I'll never succeed. And if you have a belief system, it doesn't matter what that belief system is, you will act in a way that will bring that belief system to fruition somehow. So if you believe that you're a worthy, successful person, when a problem comes up, you are going to do the things that go with the belief system of I am a worthy and successful person, and you will try your best to be worthy and successful in that situation. But if something good happens to you, but you have a belief system of I don't deserve it, you will find a way to make sure that your belief system gets justified.
And again, we're here on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Affinity Counseling, the owners, Matt and Andrea Yount, talking a lot about the modalities, the different things they have available through their counseling agency, with 3 locations, soon to have a 4th. They have one in Corning, one in Piggott, one in Kennett, soon to be in Crothersville. You can get online at Counseling with Affinity and fill out any application and get the paperwork started. Matt, is there any age limit that your organization does or does not have in regard to counseling?
I mean, typically we don't work with kids under 5 years old, primarily because if you did work with that, it's primarily a family therapy situation. We've done a little bit of that before, but it's mostly to help the family know how best to deal with what we're seeing. But 5 is typically our age cutoff for the youngest, and of course for the oldest, we don't have a cutoff for that.
And if I have no idea what I need to talk about in counseling, I just feel like I need to come and talk to someone. I can fill out that sheet online, correct? Mm-hmm. And then someone will help me just kind of figure out where I'm at. Is that correct?
So what will happen is when you go to our website and you click on the Become a Client button, you're going to fill out your general information that's going to help us get in contact with you, run your insurance, do all the stuff that we need to do up front. But once you give us that information, someone's going to contact you and typically speak with you about our different options. And if you don't know in that circumstance, you know something's just not right, they're just going to help us understand what your symptoms are. So we're going to get a general idea of what your symptomology is by the time you come in to do an intake, because you're also going to get paperwork ahead of time that you're going to fill out that'll help narrow down some of the symptoms that you may have so the therapist can look at that and know what they're dealing with coming in potentially. But if you don't know on your first session, we'll figure it out. I haven't had anybody come in that I've ever worked with that if they came in with, I don't know what's bothering me, but these are the symptoms that I have, within a couple of sessions, we've usually narrowed it down.
And I say that because a lot of people will be like, I'm just really depressed. I'm tired a lot. I just don't have the energy to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like maybe there's some repressed feelings or something like that they don't know about.
Oh, certainly could be, but it could also be a medical issue. So we kind of have to look for some of those things too. I would ask, like, when did the symptoms start? Has this happened before? Did it come out of nowhere, or has it been a gradual thing? Because I've had a lot of people. I'll just share this about myself. About a year and a half ago, I got diagnosed with sleep apnea. Sleep apnea will drive you insane. If you're not sleeping or you're not getting good quality sleep, I felt like I was losing my mind because of it. Now, I just happened to have enough of a curious mind that I dug into things, figured it out that it was sleep apnea, and immediately got treatment for it. But since then, I have noticed that a lot of my clients that come in with these same symptoms, I'm like, oh, that's depression, but it's depression from sleep apnea. You probably need to go get tested. And lo and behold, that's what they have. They start the treatment. They're feeling better. And so we have to parse out a lot of times. Are we dealing with something hormonal, something other medical issue, something that is actually from trauma? So we've got to parse out what we're dealing with to know how to get you the best treatment.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren and Todd on KDX AM 1590. Winding down with Affinity Counseling, talking with Matt and Andrea Yount, the co-owners. 3 locations, 2 in Northeast Arkansas, 2 soon in Southeast Missouri, Kennett and Caruthersville, as well as Corning and Piggott. And Matt or Andrea, one thing that it seems to me in a lot of the situations of counseling you indicated, a lot of people come in, they think there's going to be judgmental, and it seems like a lot of the issues, it's things that have happened to them, people who did it to them convinced them that it was their fault, that that's why it happened. Mm-hmm. Sure. Is that a major?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, especially with trauma, and especially with trauma within families. Yeah, a lot of times people were made to believe that the things that happened to them were somehow their fault. But honestly, people do that anyway. There could be a situation where maybe someone you're close to has a car accident, but you convince yourself that, like, it's my fault because I was going to call them earlier and I didn't, and if I'd have called them, they'd have never been in that car accident. Whenever people go through situations wherever they feel powerless, there's a defense mechanism called a reaction formation where we turn unwanted emotion into something that we can deal with a little bit better. So powerlessness is the emotion that we do not want to deal with. So sometimes as a reaction formation, we turn it to guilt. Guilt is bad. It hurts, but at least it says, hey, you weren't out of control. There was something you could have done in this situation, even though there may not have been anything. So we've put false guilt on ourselves to deal with that sense of powerlessness, and then we're stuck with the idea, unfortunately, that somehow we're guilty, but at least we're not powerless.
And, in looking back at things in a lot of people's lives, a lot of people have what I call tent pole moments in their life, mm-hmm. and it's kind of weird, but I kind of do it like this. It's like, this pole holds up my tent, mm-hmm. but some people's tent pole moments are sad things or bad things. Some people's are happy things or joyous things. Mm-hmm. And if yours are bad things or upset, that's what you need to come to counseling and talk about, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are things that when they're bad enough, they develop belief systems that will affect you for the rest of your life, how you interact with other people, how you interact with yourself, the world around you. And if you don't correct the belief systems that get generated from those experiences, it will inevitably affect every other decision you make moving forward. So, yeah, it's not – people get the idea that, oh, I don't think about it, therefore it doesn't bother me. It's generating a belief system that you're using in your everyday life that's probably destructive. So if you don't resolve the issue, the belief system still stays.
And again, we're here on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd, KDX AM 1590, talking to Affinity Counseling, Matt and Andrea Yount. And as we're winding down, Matt or Andrea, is there any last words that you'd like to leave? Any information about how to get in touch with you or anything of that nature you'd like to leave with the listeners before we go?
Yeah, I think the website's fine. Using counselingwithaffinity.com is probably the best way to reach out to us. But I think the main thing I want people to understand is that it may feel scary to come deal with the issues that you've been dealing with for a long period of time. I promise you that the fear that you have is way scarier than the actual experience. Most of the time when I deal with people who have had trauma, Do they go through some pain while we're processing it? Yes, but they feel tons better afterwards, and that pain is such a short period of time. It's way better than carrying it because it's hurting you a lot worse doing it that way.
Absolutely. Andrea, I'll let you have the last word.
Oh, wow. I'm not prepared for the last word.
You usually are in arguments.
And again, I can't tell the people enough how excited and grateful I am for Matt and Andrea to come in and give this 55 minutes or so of their time. Again, reach out to Affinity Counseling. These two people are amazing, super. I mean, I could talk to them for hours and hours. But on behalf of my producer, Mooring Johnson, my executive producer, Darren Todd, behalf of KDX AM 1590 and welcome to the booth, I'd like to thank you for making us part of your day. Hope you have a great afternoon and a better tomorrow.